Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is your morning dose of daily coffee that we so desperately need. Your conservative voice here on TikTok, James Paul Von Helden, Master of the Mystic Arts, Sorcerer Supreme, Demon Slayer, and part-time Hurricane Destroyer. Now with more bubble bursting power. Anyways, good morning, good morning, good morning, and it is morning coffee, and we have news. A West Tennessee woman tried to portray herself both online and in real life as a Marine Corps veteran and is now going to jail. Oops. Folks, when you get online and you claim to be someone you are not, it's called fraud. And in some cases, it can rise to the level of a felony. It depends on the particular case. Point is, it's illegal. You can't do that.
Huh?
So when these trolls pose as attorneys, or pose as judges, or pose as whatever, that's fraud. That's illegal. You go to jail for that shit. Wow, who knew, right? Isn't it funny, trolls, that I'm not in jail? Gee, I wonder why. Oh, because I didn't lie about my service. 2.5 years in the Naval Sea Cadet Corps, 9 months in the Army, 6 months in the Coast Guard. My story has never changed because it's true and because it's real. Now, admittedly, the Coast Guard part was done during the Naval Sea Cadet Corps because that was part of some program that they had. Still yet, it counts and it matters. Oh, and by the way, before anybody poo-poos the Naval Sea Cadet Corps, I will remind everyone that I was taking actual tests to be an actual naval officer while I was in the Naval Sea Cadet Corps. So you can sit there and poo-poo the Naval Sea Cadet Corps all you want, but I was taking tests, actual written tests, to become a real naval officer. Okay, so stick that in your pipe and smoke it. All right? I'm sick of these people that disparage me when my story has never changed, and I actually served. But these guys will get out here and they'll portray themselves as attorneys and lawyers or not attorneys and lawyers, because that's the same damn thing. I mean, attorney and well, no, they actually aren't. Actually, a lawyer and an attorney are not the same thing. Anyway, whatever. Splitting hairs. Point being, don't get on here and try to portray yourself as something you're not, because it's called fraud. And while it isn't always considered a felony, it could rise to the level of a felony, depending upon the actions you take. For example, if you're trying to scam money out of people by impersonating yourself as an attorney or a barrister if you're overseas, yeah, that could rise to the level of a felony. Because at that point, you're trying to solicit funds, and that would be a big no-no. So, yeah, I'm just reminding the trolls that, hey, don't get out there and impersonate somebody you're not. Oh, wow, that applies to the scammers here on TikTok, too, doesn't it? That applies to just about every damn body, it seems like. But yeah, don't get on here portraying who you're not, because it could rise to the level of felony. You don't want that. But now, whether this woman, her actions were considered felonious or not, remains to be seen. But she is, in fact, going to jail. Goodbye. And good riddance. Okay? People need to stop impersonating other people. That is very annoying. It's very annoying. Such as coming on TikTok and portraying yourself as Jennifer Aniston or Gal Gadot or Dolly Parton or whoever you might be. Yeah, don't be doing that. Don't be doing that, because it could rise to the level of a felony. You never know. I am who I say I am. If I tell you that I was in the Naval Sea Cadet Corps, that I was in the Coast Guard, and that I was in the Army, then I was. I don't get up here and fart around. I tell the truth. Well, I have to tell the truth now because I'm High Priest of Freedom Religion, so I don't have a choice. But even when I wasn't High Priest of Freedom Religion, I still wouldn't lie, because it's just not a good thing to do. I never put on airs, folks. If I got on there and told you something in the past, I meant it. And the gods and goddesses that I serve even doubled down on it and said, listen, most of the shit that he tells you, we put in him, so you better listen to him. I'm going to tell a story about my own adopted sister that some of you may not be aware of. I went to my sister. After receiving a very startling vision, I went to my sister. And I said, listen, I had a vision of you, and I don't get visions every day, but I had a vision of you. Your body was all bloated and swollen. Your skin was yellow, jaundiced. And you had a cigarette in one hand and a wine glass in the other. And I begged my sister, please take my advice. Quit cigarettes, quit alcohol, get cleaned up. You know, if you need to go rehab, whatever you got to do, but get cleaned up and get away from those two things, because I feel like I was given a vision of you passing away. Well, she laughed at me. She thought that was funny. And she was a flaming communist, so she didn't believe in spiritual things anyway. And but I went to her and I begged her. I said, dude, I don't get visions every day. You need to listen to what I'm telling you. And she refused. And I'm like, okay, you know. So it was about, I don't think it was even a month later. I think it was just a few weeks later, Mom gets a phone call, and they said, you got to come to Ohio real quick. And so she runs up to Ohio, and sure enough, my sister was dying. And Mom literally stayed there until she passed. And then Mom came back sometime later. And so when Mom came back, I said, Mom, just out of curiosity, what did my sister look like? And she said, well, her body was swollen and bloated, her skin was yellow, and she had the smell of cigarettes on one hand and the smell of alcohol on the other hand. Just exactly like in my vision. Wow, imagine that. Now, there's more detail than that, but those things are, you know, personal, and so I'm not going to elaborate on that. But the gist of it, the meat of it was, you know, I was 100% right. So it pays to listen to me, folks. It pays to listen to what I tell you. And my sister did not, unfortunately. If she had listened to me, I believe she'd still be here to this day. But, you know, everything has a reason and a purpose, even the bad stuff. And, you know, you just gotta accept that, you know. But, you know, so yeah, don't be putting on airs. Don't be casting aspersions. If you come on here as somebody else, eventually you'll get caught, you'll get found, and depending on the severity of the case, you could even see jail time. Wow, who knew? But yeah, for those of you just joining in, a Western Tennessee woman has been arrested and thrown in jail for impersonating a career Marine. Oops. Yeah, don't be doing that shit. You know, it's called stolen valor, but its better term is fraud. The more accurate term is fraud. Okay, don't be committing fraud, folks. It's a crime. It's illegal. It's against the law. Don't be doing that shit. All right? Don't be committing fraud. If you come on TikTok, you better be who you say you are. Because if I find out, I'm reporting you to the fucking FBI. Oh, yes, I am. So make damn sure you are who you say you are when you come on TikTok. Because I'm not playing anymore. And apparently neither is the government. Because they're throwing the book at this woman, apparently. And rightly so. Don't commit fraud, folks. Don't do that. Don't claim to be an executor of an estate when you are not. Because you might not get away with it. Anyway, y'all have a wonderful day and a better tomorrow. Because you should. Right? Absolutely. Bye. We'll be right back after these messages. All right. Since this seems to be the topic that refuses to fucking die, and I can't have these people fucking assassinated, because that would just be horrible, wouldn't it? So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to reveal what I can to the events that led up to what's going on. And then that way you will know more information
than the trolls know. And so when the trolls come up and they mention RH3 and JHJ, you can tell them to take their JHJ and RH3 and shove it right up their motherfucking ass. Okay? That's the purpose of the video. Is so that when dumbasses get on the internet thinking they know more about my military service than I do, you can tell them to take their JHJ and shove it up their ass, because they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Okay? They don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Hi, Lo. I'm talking to you. And if you disparage my military service one more time, I will sue your fucking ass. And that goes for anybody else for that matter. But anyway, that's where we're at. And I'm going to do this video. This is going to be the only time I discuss this matter. Because, quite frankly, no one needs to know my fucking business, right? It's nobody's fucking business but my own. However, like I said, my reputation, which is quite stellar, is being constantly attacked by a bunch of fucking criminals with criminal rap sheets longer than my damn arm all over the fucking internet. People that need to be in prison are on the internet talking shit about my military service. And nobody seems to give a fuck. Nobody seems to call them on their bullshit. You know, my first question would be, okay, since you seem to know more about Von Helton's military service than he does, please tell me what the captain said to him in that office when it was just him and the captain alone together. Go ahead, I'll wait. Well, what did the captain say? It's just Von Helton and the captain in the office together by themselves. What did the captain say? Since you know more about Von Helton's military service than he does, please enlighten us, O wizened one. What the fuck did the captain say to Von Helton in that goddamned office when there was only two of them there? What did he say? Oh, you can't tell me, can you? You know why you can't? Because you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. That's why. That's why. So keep your mouth off Von Helton's military service. Simple as that, right? Not only that, but there's this big honking fucking writing at the bottom of my DD-214. General under honorable conditions. Does that sound like a washout to you? No. No, it doesn't, does it? In fact, a washout wouldn't even have got out of basic training, would they? No, they wouldn't. Okay? But I'm going to explain this shit. And this is going to be the only time I explain it. And if you don't fucking understand it after this, I really don't give a shit. But what I will encourage you to do is please go start a bunch of shit with the military regarding my service. So that you can get your VA benefits taken away. So that you can get doors slammed in your fucking nose. And so that you can be publicly humiliated. Just like all these other dumbasses were when they tried to disparage my military service. Okay? Alright, anyways, without further ado, let's get into it. As I said in my opening monologue, me and the captain had a nice little chat. We had a nice little chat twice, in fact. Because you don't know some of the things that occurred. You have no idea. So I'm going to explain it to you. And this is going to be the only time I explain it to you. Because as I said in my opening monologue, it's quite frankly nobody's fucking business but my own. But, like I said, I got a bunch of fucking criminals on the internet who keep disparaging my military service simply because they see a fucking code on my DD-214, which for me means absolutely nothing. It means absolutely nothing. They had to slap something on there, and that's what they slapped on there. That's it. That's it. What part of when you go into the government, you're not going back to the military, do you not fucking understand? Well, that JHJ means he can't get back in the military. I'm not going back into the military, you fucking moron. I'm going into government work. What part of that are you confused about? They slapped it in there because obviously I'm not going back into the military. I chose to go into government work. Are you really that dense? Are you really that fucking stupid that you can't understand this shit? But anyway, let me back the train up because there's a lot more about this than meets the eye. And there's a lot more about it that even I'm not really 100% sure what the fuck happened, but it happened so quickly that... Okay, here's the gist of it. The gist of it is that we couldn't get any money. Which means we weren't going to be able to go to Reforger. Which means we weren't being able to go out into the field and train like we should. Okay? That's where we're at. And obviously, after busting my ass and barely surviving basic training in AIT, which I passed, by the way, I wanted to go to my first permanent duty station and train in my tank. Hell, I wanted to live in my tank, actually, but that's beside the point. But the point is that if you wanted to find Private Helton, you went to the motor pool. And you look down the loader hatch of his tank, and there he will be, reading his tank manual. Because that's what I always did. So this was a day like any other fucking day. I'm in my tank, reading my tank manual. And the LT sticks his head in the loader's hatch and says, "Private Helton, what are you doing?" I said, "I'm doing the same thing I do every fucking day. Because we can't go to the field. Because we ain't got no fucking money." And so we're sitting there having our discussion. And it's an amicable discussion, by the way. And all of a sudden, for whatever reason, according to the LT, I just got a glaze over me, and I said, "There's a war coming and we're not ready." And the LT's like, "What?" He's like, and I repeat it again. I said, "There's a war coming and we're not ready. We must get to the field." And this was not because I wanted to go to the field, which I did, that I was tired of Susie Homemaker bullshit, and I wanted to get my ass out in the field, in my tank, doing what I'm supposed to be fucking doing. But that's beside the point. The point is, this was something different. This was a revelation, if you will. And the LT leaves. He takes off. I don't know where he went, don't know why, but he, for whatever reason, he took that information, got this stupid ass look on his face, and takes off. Never paid it another mind. Subsequently, I go to the captain myself, and I go into his office. And I'm like, "Cap, I want to go to the field, man. I want to train. We got to train." Now, I did not mention what I had mentioned to the LT because, like I said, I was glazed over. I had no idea what the fuck I said to the LT at the time I said it. But I did have this burning desire, this urge to get to the field badly. Okay? And it had been with me ever since I'd left Fort Knox, Kentucky. And so they're like, captain's like, "Can't do it." I said, "Why not?" He said, "We ain't got the funds." And I'm like, "So we're not even going to be able to go to Reforger, are we?" He said, "No, we ain't got the money." I'm like, holy shit. See, Reforger, for those of you who don't know, is where everybody takes a trip to Germany and does extensive training with the German military. It's something we do every fucking year. Unfortunately, funds being what they were at the time, we were not able to do that. So I wouldn't even get to go to Reforger or do nothing that I'm supposed to be doing. Okay, obviously I was not happy with that. And I'm like, well, can I transfer to a unit that does have the money to go to Reforger and does have the money to go out in the field? And he's like, your best bet would be a year out before you could even transfer. I'm like, a year? He's like, yeah. Now, mind you, there was other things that me and the captain discussed, but I'm not going to discuss them in this video, because quite frankly, it's none of your goddamn business. But suffice it to say, that was the gist of the conversation as far as that went. And I'm like, well, okay, if it's going to take me a year to get a transfer, what do I do? And the captain is like, well, you can transfer out of the military and into government work. And I'm like, well, what does that entail? And he told me several options. And I said, well, I'll mull it over. I'll think about it. And that's exactly what I did, too. I thought long and hard about it. Now, in the meantime, the LT, who left with a puzzled look on his face, has now found me once again in the motor pool in my tank, reading my tank manual. Private Hilton. He sticks his head in the loader's hatch again. I need you to come with me. And I'm like, am I in any trouble, LT? He's like, no, you're not in any trouble. So I hop out of my tank, and we go see the captain a second time. But this time the LT is with me. And the LT explains to the captain what I had told the LT when I had this glaze over my face. And the captain's jaw hits the floor, because the captain was privy to information that I and the LT was not privy to. And so the captain says something to the effect of, holy shit, now I know why he needs to go into government work. Something to that effect. I don't remember the exact words. They're not important anyway. And so the captain at that point expedites my transfer from the military into government work. Now, in the meantime, I had totally skipped over all the NCOs, because the NCOs at the time were the two wards, Staff Sergeant Ward and First Sergeant Ward. They were not happy that I jumped over them and went straight to the brass. They were not happy with that. Well, you know what? Suck my big red dick. But anyway, so the point is that that's basically it in a nutshell. And they needed to expedite me into the government work immediately, if not sooner. and that was the story about it. Now, you know, obviously the wards did not like me, and they could have put any code on there, but I guess they decided to put a shitty code on there because they didn't like me. First Sergeant Ward said, get him out of my army. And I looked at him right in the eye and I said, my family's been around since the Revolutionary War, bitch. If anybody's army, this is my army. And then I stormed out. But anyway, the point is that the wards did not like me, and they could have been the ones that put that shitty code on there. But it doesn't matter what code is on my DD-214. I was not coming back to the military. So it didn't matter what fucking code they put on my stupid DD-214. And besides, it had right on there, General under honorable conditions. So was I a washout in any way? No. Was I stolen valor in any way? No. Quite the opposite. If this had been World War II, I would have been immediately pressed into service within the OSS. Let's just put it that way. Now, obviously, this isn't World War II. But the point I'm getting at is that stupid little code does not mean a hill of fucking beans. Because right under there, it says General under honorable conditions, which takes precedence over any fucking code that the wards could have put on there. Okay? But yeah, First Sergeant Ward looked me right in the face and said, get him out of my army. And I looked him right back and said, this is my fucking army, bitch. My family has been around since the Revolutionary War. This is my fucking army. It ain't yours. It don't belong to you. But anyway, enough said about the wards, because they're total assholes. They always have been and they always will be. The point is that, you know, they didn't like me, and they didn't like the fact that I leapfrog over them and went straight to the brass. Well, you know what? Tough shit. I don't give a fuck. especially when there's lives at stake. Now, you say, well, Vaughn, what in the fuck is this all about? Well, I'm going to tell you what it's all about. What it's all about is that I accurately predicted Desert Shield and Desert Storm. And that because of my actions, I probably saved thousands and thousands of military personnel's lives. I also was able to accurately give them the name Schwarzkopf, but General Schwarzkopf. I was able to give them his name. I didn't even know the guy, had no clue. And this is why they expedited me into government work, because I was able to accurately predict Desert Shield and Desert Storm, right down to the name of the fucking general. Now, do you understand why when you go and talk about my military service, you stand a real good chance of losing your VA benefits if you bring it up? Do you understand that you're going to get doors slammed in your fucking face if you even bring this shit up to anyone? Now do you fucking understand? I literally saved thousands and thousands of American lives because I accurately predicted a war that was going to catch everyone blindsided. And I mean everyone. You will never, ever get anyone that's actually in the active military to disparage my service, because I probably saved their nephew, their niece, their cousin, their aunt, their father, maybe even their grandfather, who the fuck knows now, because it's been 20 years. I saved lives. And so no one in the active duty military is going to fucking disparage me, ever. I saved their buddies' lives, literally. Now do you fucking understand? So that stupid little JHJ and RH3 don't mean shit. It doesn't mean a goddamn thing. And like I said, right underneath there it says general under honorable conditions anyway. So whatever fucking code they slapped on there is immaterial, right? Now, getting back to stolen valor, okay, because terminology is important, okay? Terminology is very, very important. You got dumbasses on the internet saying that stolen valor is someone that doesn't complete their basic in AIT. No, that's not stolen valor. Nothing has been stolen. Duh. In order for something to be stolen, it has to be stolen. Alright, well, somebody who went to basic and AIT did not steal a damn thing, did they? No, they did not. They just didn't make it. And that happens, unfortunately, to a great many people. They just didn't make it. Alright? But nothing was stolen. There was no stolen valor taking place. Likewise, oh, well, he only served 9.5 months in the military. He's stolen valor. Wrong. Once again, nothing was stolen. In order for it to be stolen valor, something has to be stolen. Well, there was nothing stolen. Okay, so what is stolen valor? Stolen valor is when a civilian steals the identity of a military person and then poses as that person. That is stolen valor. They stole a man's identity. They stole a military person's identity and were posing as that person. That is stolen valor. Okay? Do you understand your terminology now? That is stolen valor. Washing out of basic and AIT is not stolen valor. Going to your first permanent duty station is not stolen valor. Stolen valor is when a civilian poses as military personnel. They are stealing someone's identity. That is stolen valor. Do you fucking understand plain English now? I am so fucking furious over dumbasses that never served but get on here and think they know what the fuck they're talking about. No, you don't. And now I'm hearing even military people claim this shit. No. Stolen valor is when you steal something. Somebody that washed out of the military did not steal anything. Somebody that went to their first permanent duty station did not steal anything. Stolen valor is when a civilian steals the identity of a military person. Or, in a similar vein, they make up a military person out of whole cloth and then pose as that person, which is still stolen valor, because they're still stealing military identity, right? Okay? But in order for it to be stolen valor, something has to be stolen. You understand this? Or am I making it too fucking simple for you to understand? Okay, now, what is a washout? A washout is someone that does not complete their basic or AIT or both. Now, in 1982, my basic and AIT were combined because I was a tanker at Fort Knox, Kentucky. So my basic and AIT were combined. My drill sergeants were Drill Sergeant Hobbs and Drill Sergeant Thede. And as far as I know to this day, they have not one negative thing to say about me. Not one. Not one! Funny how the trolls and haters can't seem to mention that, though, huh? I wonder why that is. There was another drill sergeant whose name started with an S, but I can't remember his name correctly, and so I don't want to mispronounce it. But those three drill sergeants have never said one disparaging word about me to the best of my knowledge, and they never will, because I'm not a washout. Wow, what a shock. What a shock. I'm not a washout. And I also was not a piece of shit either. You know, I did my best. Now, understand though, when I first went into the military, I was very sickly. I only weighed like 110 pounds, soaking wet with rocks in my pocket. I was bad sick, very, very skinny, thin, emaciated. And they did their level best to bring me up to speed and get me healthy and all that good jazz, which they did. Which they did. So, and in record time too, man. I mean, it was amazing. It was amazing the transformation that took place, because there wasn't a whole lot to me, to be honest. There wasn't much to me. A good strong wind would have blown me over, and that's the truth. But I want to make it abundantly clear that there was only 3 people in that captain's office. Me, the LT, and the captain. Nobody else was in that fucking office, to the best of my knowledge, unless they was listening in at the door. Nobody else was there, and nobody else heard the fucking conversation. Alright, so these fucks getting on the internet, thinking they know more about my military service than I do, and that they know more about the circumstances surrounding my situation than I do, are a bunch of dumbasses. And they need to be called on it, okay? When some fuckwad gets on the internet and says they know more about Von Helden's military service than Von Helden does, they need to be called on that shit. Well, were you in the office when the captain talked to him? If they say no, then that's the end of the conversation, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. But you will not get any active duty personnel to disparage my name, because I probably saved hundreds of thousands of military personnel lives, because I accurately predicted Desert Shield, Desert Storm, and the name of the general, who was Schwarzkopf. There it is. Now you know. And knowing is half the battle. So the next time some dumbass troll on the internet thinks they know more about my military service, tell them to fuck off and die, because they don't know shit. They don't know a damn thing. That's why that Air Force officer over on Delphi came back apologizing all over himself to me. Because between my work with NASA and my work with the government, other government agencies, I imagine he got quite a few doors slammed in his face. I have done a lot of cool shit, folks. The problem is that most of it I cannot discuss because I signed NDAs. See, the reason this whole shit got started anyway is because they want to know what I did for the government. Well, you know what? You can go pound sand, because I'm not allowed to discuss it. And it ain't none of your damn business anyway. But what you can know, and what I will tell you, is that I served with distinction. I served my country with distinction. And I saved countless lives in various different things that I've done. And that's the truth. And if you can't handle the truth, that's not my fucking problem, is it? No, it's not. No, it's not. So you take your fucking opinion, troll, and you shove it right up your motherfucking ass. Because you weren't in that office with that captain. It was me, the LT, and the captain. That's it. You weren't there. You don't know. Fuck the stupid little code on my DD-214. It means absolutely nothing. It means absolutely nothing. And truth be known, the wards probably put that shit on there to, as a last jab at me anyway. Well, who gives a fuck? I don't give a fuck. Because those little codes don't mean a damn thing. They don't mean a damn thing. Do you understand? I hope so. I hope this clears this fucking shit up. But now understand that anything beyond this point, anything beyond this point, I cannot discuss. All right, you understand? I cannot discuss anything beyond this point. And you're damn lucky I'm discussing this. But the only reason I'm discussing this is because a bunch of jackasses on the internet think they know more about my military service than I do. That's the only reason I'm bringing this up. I'm not bringing this up to puff myself up or to glorify myself in any way. Because as far as I'm concerned, despite what I may have done to save this country and to save lives, I'm still just a Joe. Right? Still just a Joe, man. I did my part. It's just like when I warned people about Frau Merkel's Trojan horse. Okay? I did my part. I did my duty. Had people in Europe heard my warning, all those women that were raped and killed would be alive today. That's a fact. It's not my opinion. That's a fucking fact. Okay? When I say a thing, particularly if I feel like it's being led of the gods, or if I feel like, it's something given to me to tell you, you really need to fucking listen. Because I don't get shit like that often. Subsequently, by the way, my relatives actually served in Desert Shield and Desert Storm. And a lot of the shit that I discussed off camera, they were able to independently verify. That's the beauty of it. So no troll can take this shit away from me. No hater can come up and spin this and take it away from me. You can't take this shit away from me. What I've done to help my country cannot be taken away by some fucking internet troll. You understand? Do you fucking understand plain English? Now, the next time you bring this matter up, I'm just going to ask you flat out to your face, how many lives did you save? Because I potentially saved thousands. How many did you save? I'm waiting. Alright? Does this end this once and for all? I hope so. I hope this ends it once and for all. Because I'm sick and tired of this bullshit, and I'm sick and tired of fucking criminals getting on the internet, acting like they know more about my shit than I do. Right? Because that's fucking stupid. You want to talk about narcissism? There's narcissism. Narcissism is getting on the internet thinking you know more about my military service than I do. Or what happened in those series of events. Because there's a whole lot more that happened. There's a certain incident that happened on a bridge that I can't even go into because I don't know if it's been declassified. There's a lot of shit that I could discuss that I'm not going to discuss because, quite frankly, it's none of your goddamn business. It's none of your goddamn business what I did for the government. It's none of your goddamn business what I done to save people's lives, other than the ones I already obviously mentioned. But it's none of your goddamn business, quite frankly. Alright? It just isn't. But like I said, Drill Sergeant Thede, Drill Sergeant Hobbs, and all the drill sergeants at Fort Knox, Kentucky will not have one negative thing to say about me as far as I know. Because I wasn't a washout, and I wasn't a piece of shit. Now, I was very sickly. I was very thin and emaciated, but I was not no washout, and I wasn't an asshole or anything of that nature. I was just a little kid that wanted to serve his country. Do you fucking understand? I hope so. I hope so. Alright, that ends it for me. Okay? Any more discussion after this, I'm just going to flag your ass, and then I'm going to point YouTube to this video. Do you understand? And I'm going to get your channel taken down. Any more mention of my military service, I will point YouTube to this video, and I will get your goddamn channel taken down. Do you fucking understand plain English? There will be no more discussion about my military service. Unless you want to lose your YouTube channel, of course. And that's just the way it is. Alright? So, y'all have a pleasant day. And a better tomorrow.